Do you have back pain when lifting objects? Do you have to lift them because of work or because of house maintenance? In this video, I will teach you different strategies to lift heavy objects to avoid feeling pain. Before anything, I just want to talk about low back pain and how it is related to lifting stuff. Low back pain is multifactorial. It can be a cause of the sum of loads of different factors, and the lift of heavy weights would only be one in a multitude of reasons why we have pain. In this video we will talk about it so you have somewhere to start and then research more with your healthcare provider which may be the cause of your pain. Another thing I want you to understand is to not become obsessed with posture. So this is just how to properly lift heavy objects when we do actually lift heavy objects. This does not mean that we should always keep a straight back. This does not mean that we should always squat, that we should always be hip hinging. Okay, this is just for the actual lift of objects. And as I said, normal movement in the spine is not a problem. The spine is made to move around, is made to bend, is made to extend. There's no problem with that. What there is a problem with is with using a somewhat weak and flexible structure like the back for doing high force work when we have muscles like the gluteus, like the quads, that are way stronger and way more stable to perform these tasks. So the basic principles for lifting. First is to position ourselves properly in regards to the object and with a neutral spine. So what do I mean by this? A neutral spine is the position we have when we are relaxed, when we are not forcing anything. The position of the lumbar spine is related to the position of our pelvis, as we can see in this image, but also by the position of our thoracic and in a lesser degree cervical spine. So when we lift loads, we want to position ourselves in a neutral posture. Okay, this is very important. We don't want to be bent, we don't want to be extremely extended, we want to be neutral. Also, keep objects close to your torso, as close as possible. Having objects in front of you with your arms extended is gonna put unnecessary strain both on your back and on your joints. Brace if lifting a heavy load, which we will talk about more in a bit. And most importantly, use your hips and knees for power. They are load bearing joints. They are designed for that. They are designed to jump, to climb hills, to push objects from the ground. Use the big muscles on your legs to lift objects. Do not use your back, which is much more fragile and much less strong. So about bracing, what is bracing? Bracing is the action of increasing the intra-abdominal pressure of our body by doing a contraction of our deep abdominal muscles. So how do we do that? The motion and the mechanism, which is shown here, is to take a deep breath first, where your diaphragm expands, and then without releasing the air, increasing intra-abdominal pressure. How do we do that? For example, imagine yourself doing the motion of coughing without letting the air out. So you would take a deep breath and then push heavy into your stomach. So why do we do this? What do we achieve by doing it? What we do is that the contraction of the deep abdominal muscles is gonna create stiffness and rigidity in our low back, which is gonna spare it from unnecessary movement and loads during the lifting. Do we always need to brace? Not really, only when lifting heavy loads. So what are the different strategies we can use for lifting these objects? I'm gonna talk about 4 different strategies. These are knee and hip strategies. First there's the squat, the lunges, the deadlift, and the single leg deadlift. So these are movements. The squat and the lunge are knee dominant movements in which we are gonna mostly use our quads, and the deadlift variations are hamstring and gluteal dominant movements. We are gonna use these movements indifferently depending on the kind of load we have to lift, and depending on our proportions, depending on the situation. But these are all postures that will enable us to exert force with our back in a neutral position. As you can see, in all of them, our back isn't rounding, it's our muscles, our lower body muscles that are making the force and the effort. Depending for you, you may be more comfortable with squatting. If you are a shorter person with very flexible limbs, you may be accustomed to squatting and it may be easy for you. Or maybe you are a really tall person which struggles with squatting, so maybe deadlifting is usually your go-to option. What I would say is try them all, see which one is more comfortable for you, and try to get comfortable with all of them because they may be used in different situations. For example, the single leg deadlift may be the one used for the lightest objects because of its instability, but at the same time is one of the least energy demanding for us, so we may use it more frequently. The lunge is great because it allows you to get objects like boxes really close to your torso, and also it doesn't require lots of flexibility. The squat is great. Again, it's purely using our quads and our glutes from a very natural position, and the hip hinge is just the strongest option overall for extremely heavy loads. So how do we combine strategies? How do we approach objects in our daily life? I'm going to show you two examples. The first one here, as you can see, for lifting a heavy box, you may wonder, is this a squat? Is this a deadlift? It's actually a mix of both. As you can see, there's some degree of knee bending and some degree of hip flexion. Whatever strategy suits you best is and allows you to keep a neutral spine is gonna be fine. Here, another case where in the illustration the guy is lifting the box with a mixture of a squat and a lunge. Whatever feels comfortable, they are all fine options as long as you use your muscles and not your back. And also, last tip is to train them weighted. These are all movements that can be trained with weights and that will improve your comfort and your reliance on these movements for your daily life. So as you train them and get comfortable with them, you will realize that you find it easier to lift objects from the ground, that all these movements, all these skills are transferable, and that you don't feel any difference between lifting a box or lifting a barbell. So thank you so much for watching. I hope the video was helpful.